What is the dumbest thing you did because you were horny? I almost jerked off while driving down the highway once, but then I thought if they found my mangled corpse in the wreck with my hand around my dick, my family would be really disappointed. So my brain won that battle. Paid for a porn subscription that I didn't realize I was still paying for until 1.5 years later. $1,135 for one orgasm. Jerked off in principal's office to his daughter's picture. Tried to choke myself with a towel. Woke up in a hospital with my mum beside me. Had 3 whole kids. 3 of them. I'm knackered. I was helping my dad close up the sailboat for the winter. We took the seat cushions out and the long ones had to go in the car between us, kind of stacked up like a wall so we could only see each other's heads. Teenage hormones kicked in on the hour ride home and I proceeded to rub one out while looking out the window. Many moons later I told my brothers, who then proceeded to tell my dad. I always wondered why you were so quiet on that trip. Drove across the US, picked up a catfish, said hey whatever and took her home with me anyways. Bought this girl champagne and cocaine. Still didn't get any. Felt like a fool and never did it again. Have sex in school laboratory. Put a small rubber jumping ball up my $sign and panicked because it wouldn't come out. Licked a stripper's pussy. I'm ashamed to admit that I've done this at least 2 times. I really gotta make better choices when horny. Replied my ex's text. Got caught coming out of the toilets with a colleague. Drove 4 hours to the beach to camp with a fuck buddy of mine. He stood me up and ghosted me. The icing on the cake was losing my keys in the sand and having to pay $300 for a new set to be cut. Paid $2 for a massage app on my Xbox that was supposed to make my controller vibrate. It didn't do anything for me and I forgot to refund it, so now I just have this random ass massage game in my library. Paid for some chick's private Snapchat for a week. $20 wasted. Should have ordered a pizza instead. Girl offered to jerk me off if I let her copy my answers off of one of our finals. I thought it was going to be sometime after, but nope, it was right there during a lecture. Being a typical young guy, of course I wasn't gonna reject the offer. Still surprised to this day we weren't caught. Discovered my dick is too big for a prescription bottle. Edit. I would like to clarify that the girth was the limiting factor as I did not attempt flaccid. Called my friend's mom mommy. Jerked off at the top of a mountain, looking over my city, as doing something forbidden was an interesting idea. Well, the view was amazing, but I was scared to get caught. Looking back, if someone would caught me, I had serious issues now. I was talking about this the other day, lol. I once walked 3 miles at 2 a.m. during a snowstorm and -3-degree temperatures when my girlfriend called and said that her parents were gone for the weekend. The things a horny 16-year-old kid will do to get laid. LOL. Paid $1,200 for a private room at Hustler in Vegas, threw the strippers a wild card and said, "Y'all sit down while I strip for you." WTF was I thinking? Tried sucking my own dick when I was 12 and nearly snapped my spine in half. Sent my pippy to an ack and they threatened me that if I didn't give them $300 they'd leak it. I sent them my pippy again. Ike if I would leak it Elmau. Dyed my hair black. My roommate was doing it and the girl helping him was redonkulously hot. She came into the living room and told me, "We have some extra dye, I think you would look hot with black hair." I looked at her in that lime green tube top and said, "That sounds like a great idea." I found out I was allergic to hair dye when, 3 days later, my head swelled up and I looked like that orc general that attacked Minas Tirith in Return of the King with a full head of Elvis black hair. It took a whole month of medication for it to go away as my head was bright red under the hair and secreting a fluid that made my hair hard as a rock. Fun times. My ex, God, she was an awful person, though. I was 21 and big boobs so you know. Peeped on my sister's best friend showering. I was 12. It's an extremely cringe memory that haunts me when I try to sleep at night. If I'd known the amount of torment it'd cause me in the future, I would have just watched some damn porn. FML. Underage. Many years ago, me and my current wife were very little horny people. We used to go have sex under this highway underpass a little off the beaten path because our parents were always home. Well, it was also near a community center type building. One day when we were walking through the woods to get there, someone thought they seen a man abducting a child. Yes, it was me. We are the same age, just have a crazy height difference, and I have had a beard from a young age, haha. Anyways, long story long, I was getting a BJ and a cop came down to the underpass from the highway up above and yelled freeze. Let me tell you, we both froze. She wouldn't move and had her face covered, with my dick still in her mouth. Then the cop just yelled at us saying, "Can't you guys be doing this at home?" Said he could see I wasn't underage and told us about the call. It was the most embarrassing thing to ever happen. We didn't even bring it up again for a few years. Now we are married and it is a funny memory. We even went back there to mess around a year ago. When I was in the 8th grade, my teacher was a MILF. It was during English. While everyone was working on their essays, I was busy rubbing one out under the table. Finished in my boxers, then the post-nut clarity kicked in and I realized I had to wear those boxers all day. Stayed with my ex-wife despite 3 cheating incidents. At that time I felt it was better than being alone. I don't know how I feel about it now. I had it so bad for this Chinese girl at university back in 2004, and she would not give me the time of day. I did everything I possibly could. Then in a moment of insane desperation and browsing shit during the earlier days of the internet, I found some sort of self-proclaimed wizard living in California who specialized in love spells, and I shit you not, my 20-year-old brain thought it was a good idea to send said wizard $200 USD to cast the spell. Suffice it to say, the spell did not work. To this day I still can't believe how stupid I was. Male hormones are ridiculous things. Connected with a friend's ex who I knew had feelings for me. Went to catch up over lunch, ended up spending all day drinking with her, then fingered her at the outdoor area of an absolutely packed bar. Neither of us were staying in places we could have people spend the night, so hired a late hotel room. Get in the door, she immediately vomits all over the room and spent the next 2 hours crying on the floor saying she loved me while I did my best to clean up. Whoops. I was dating a girl at work and we would regularly have sex at her side of our business complex. Though she was part of the same company, she was part of a separate regional division and not part of corporate, so her office was typically always empty besides her. One time we were really hot and heavy into it inside the restroom, and against our better judgment we decided anal was a good idea. So we did our thing and I blew the biggest, deepest load into her ass imaginable. As I pulled out, there was a fair amount of poop on my dick, and I walk over to the sink to try and wash it off. As I'm rinsing myself into the sink, we hear the door to her office open and a large group of co-workers walk in. I panic and immediately try to put my dick away, and as I drop from my tiptoes, I slam my nutsack up against the wall of the sink and pull my taint skin so hard I almost buckled in pain. She runs out of the restroom and closes the door behind her, and I'm sitting in the dark on the toilet seat with shit on my dick and balls hurting, contemplating my life choices. Bailed a chick out of jail once. $200. She then got so drunk she peed on my couch and tried to bang my mom. Took her shopping and just left her there. Never talked to her again. Invited a girl over that I couldn't stand because it was a sure thing and it had been a while for me. The sex was awful and I was reminded why I couldn't stand her. A 10th. Put my dick in crazy. Drove an hour on bald tires in a snowstorm so bad it was like driving inside a white box. Passed so many accidents along the way too. Partner did the same. Totally worth it. Stuck a small cylinder in a mini M&M's tube filled with butter and microwaved mashed banana. Drove 300 miles at 2 a.m. for the booty call. Hardest drive of my life, and being honest, was not worth it. Not one damn bit. But knowing that I'd prob have done it again still. We men are idiots. Climbed into a friend's bed in the middle of the night without any discussion of it whatsoever. I still regret it to this day and feel like a sleazebag. He asked me to leave. Jerked off with some heated lotion like icy hot. Dick burned so bad for days. Also jacked off in the bath once, not thinking because I was a dumb kid. Got done and it was stuck to my whole body and was crusty like an old gym sock. Also wore a shirt to school I had whacked off on and didn't notice that my baby sauce was all over it. That actually happened twice. I was a dirty teenager, I guess. I had intense sex with someone after not sleeping the previous night and not having enough water or eating anything the entire day, and fainted right after. I was incredibly stressed and focused on work all night and day before she got to my apartment. We originally had planned to get me some food and water first, but somehow ended up talking in depth about our weird, ambiguous relationship and our feelings, which got really emotional, and that led to sex. Despite my exhaustion, I found a hidden well of energy within myself and went at it really hard. It was honestly great, much better than I expected given my state. But afterward, when she was actually going to order food, I went to the bathroom to wash up and suddenly realized I felt nauseous. No matter how hungry I had been a moment prior, the thought of eating was now repulsive, unthinkable. I became very hot and started sweating, felt weak and shaky. I tried to leave the bathroom and called out to her for help. I woke up on the bathroom floor 10-15 seconds later by her count. I apparently collapsed and briefly lost consciousness, and she claimed she tried to catch me but couldn't reach in time. I'm lucky I didn't seriously injure myself on one of the hard edges in there. Just hurt my shoulder a little. Usually involves me getting drunk and going on Grindr for the most feminine cross-dresser I can find to give me a blowjob. Always regret it but always do it. Vicious cycle. Tried to shove the mouthpiece of a bottle of WKD up my vagina, then shove a vibrator up my butt. Had sex with a really unattractive guy who'd been chasing me for a while. The sex was terrible. In my senior year of high school, I was supposed to take AP tests all day. It would have looked good for college. Well, all the other grades had the day off, and my boyfriend was a year younger, thus being a grade below me. He picked me up to take me to school, and since his mom worked all day, we went right to his house since we couldn't do mine because my parents worked from home. It went great until his mom came home to check on him, so he basically shoved me into his closet. It wouldn't have been a problem except it wasn't even like a full closet. It was half the size of standard closets. She left and then decided to come back and bring him lunch. I was in that closet for over 2 hours, and my phone was at 10% when I first crawled in there. I ended up just sitting in the dark for about 45 minutes of it. Anyway, our wedding is in a few months. Jerked off in a cabinet that fit my entire body while at an after-school club. After a party, I masturbation onto the side of the police station. Paid $3 for the nudes to Snapchat girls. Never got any, blocked instantly upon paying. And the worst thing is I did that 4 times. God, being horny literally lowers your IQ by like 70%. In HS I had sex behind the timpani drums in the band room during a pep rally, so no one was there lol. Many years ago I had one of those abdominal wraps that is supposed to exercise your abs by sending small electrical shocks to cause involuntary contractions. Tried it on another area and didn't really feel like anything except little non-painful shocks, but still pretty dumb. Thankfully I didn't sterilize myself. Drove from Kentucky to Illinois to meet an AOL girl I cybered with. Slept in the back of my pickup truck in front of her house because I did not think about how her parents would react to that creepy bullshit. Her dad took her on a long drive the next day to pick up furniture or something. I hid in the neighborhood and did not realize it was the alternate entrance to the neighborhood. So when she told her dad I was gone, they drove right by me while I was reading a book in the front seat and we never got together because he protected her. So then I drove from there to New Jersey for the same reason and still got nothing. Meanwhile, at that second friend's house, I was AOL-iming other girls back home in Nevada and one pretended to be a French girl with a crush on me. And I angrily outed her for being fake because it did not occur to me she was just being flirty and playing a weird little nervous energy game. Turned out she wanted to lose her virginity with me but now she thinks I'm an asshole. So I was 0 for 3. Oh boy, being 17 was a confusing time. I was freshly out of a relationship with my abusive ex and I just wanted the first sex after him to not mean anything and not be with anyone important nor anyone I'd meet again. So I went on this anonymous dating site for hookups local to my region and just went with the best person. Off I went to the capital without telling anyone at all where I was going or with whom. We met at a station in the outskirts of a suburb. I got into his car and he took me to a parking lot close to the airport. We had sex in the back where he had folded down his backseat and then he drove me back to the main train station. I did some shopping for new underwear, went to a toilet and changed into fresh underwear, freshened up and then took the train back to arrive at church in time for rehearsal in my church choir. I don't know his name or anything. Couldn't pick him out of a lineup. Super dangerous. I could have been abducted or killed. I blamed the stains on the cat. To this day my father still thinks our old cat could piss 6 feet up a wall. Got my dick stuck inside a toilet paper roll once. I was a teenager and horny and so I thought if I stuck it in and let it get hard it would somehow be pleasurable. Well, it got hard but when it did it was too tight to do anything and started to hurt. So I freaked out trying to figure out how to get it off. It took way too long to occur to me that I could just tear the cardboard roll. During a long bus trip I was so horny that I couldn't take it anymore so I wanked off in the little toilet. Just as I was starting to come I saw the lock turn. I shouted occupied and jumped up. They didn't open the door, but during the startle I had pulled my pants up and subsequently filled my underpants with jizz. The rest of the journey was rather uncomfortable but fuck, the look of my messed up pants turned me on when I saw them later. Guess it triggered a new fetish for me. I left my LDR for an old friend I reconnected with where I lived. We ended up getting married and have a kid. Now we're getting divorced and regretting everything except my boy. Wish I could erase her from my memory. 12-year relationship down the drain. When I was a teenager I stuck my hands up an incredibly attractive girl's shirt that I really wanted to bone and felt her boobies, nipples and everything. It was fucking intense. Then afterwards I peeped down her shirt to see her boobs. I hadn't seen many real-life titties at that point. The problem? It was in the middle of high school, in the middle of the hall, around everyone in the hall, including teachers. We did not get caught, but came damn close to it. I was a fucking idiot for not asking her if we could go somewhere more private for this, but I wanted to see her titties so fucking badly I didn't even think of the consequences. I then proceeded to go to the bathroom to masturbate incessantly because I couldn't have sex with her. She wouldn't want it anyway. She let me see her titties but she didn't want to fuck me. You know you're horny when the crack of dawn looks good. Spam drunk text to high school ex. 2 of them respond. Zipping on Adderall and Sam Adams, I went to the first girl's mobile home. I remember her being about 30 pounds heavier and had a cute anklet. And the bathroom, where the last thing I remember was running to it wrapped in her grandma's knitted blanket. Naked, I dropped the blanket and I puked. I 100% know I was shitting at the same time I was puking. A lot of shit. I woke up the next morning at girl number 2 seconds home in her basement by her husband asking if I wanted to go to Carl's Jr. He was amused by my drunk text to his wife ... and no harm. But I apologized. His wife told him that she texted back asking if I needed a ride, and I took that as an invite lol. They found me about a half-mile away from Waffle House and scooped me up, poop and barf covered, rinsed me and changed me ... then put me on the couch. However, when I found my phone, it was loaded with messages from girl 1, mostly going berserk over the shit all over her grandma's blanket, puke on the counters, and a mixture of both covering the wall just under the window that was hanging open. That was shamefully dumb. After she called me, I crawled up into the bathroom window of a neighbor girl, who was in her parents' bedroom's bathroom. She was getting ready to take a shower, so I joined her. Her dad was on the other side of the door, watching TV in his bed. The mid-70s. I accidentally locked my girlfriend and I outside her family's cabin while we were naked with 3 feet of snow around us. We were going skinny dipping in their hot tub and forgot to bring our clothes outside with us, so I had to run about 100 feet buck naked through 3 feet of snow to get back in the front door. Drove over an hour for a booty call on a weekday, stayed night and ended up being late for work. I tried to lie and say it was my alarm, but my neck was covered in hickeys. I didn't get written up because my boss thought it was funny, but I did get a talking to at the end of the day. Is put my dick in crazy on here yet? My girlfriend and I made another human. Is that expensive? Let a chick I was dating move in after only 3 months of being together. Found out 2 months later that she was having another guy over while I was working nights. Confronted her about it and she proceeded to squat in my apartment for nearly 6 months due to laws not allowing me to remove her on my own. Ended up having to take her to court to finally get her out. Used my sister's electric toothbrush. It vibrates nicely. Had consensual sex with one of my work colleagues. Really not proud of this. Before I went straight edge and put off sex outside of relationships, I went full Cobain and hooked up with my brain-damaged friend. She always expressed that she wanted to have casual sex, but something told me she couldn't emotionally deal with it, and I was right. Immediately after, she was really upset that we weren't dating or had any hopes of getting married, but after a year, she forgot that it even happened and went straight back to asking to hook up. I banged a Halloween decoration. It had no teeth. I can't be the first guy to do that. Used shampoo as a lubricant to jerk off. Man, that smarts. Went to ex apartment after clubbing one night, knocked on front door 2 a.m., climbed up to 2nd floor balcony to knock on sliding glass door, but somehow I was on the wrong unit's balcony and I had to jump and run off. Had a fever in high school one day and the teacher sent me to the school clinic. The nurse gave me some medicine and arranged a bed for me to rest. She went outside for about 30 minutes and didn't come back, so I jerked off on that bed and suddenly my headache was gone. Fucked a watermelon with lipstick on it, then proceeded to think I tore the skin off my dick cause it was red. I invited a guy over that had been trying to smash. He comes over, no foreplay, limp, and after about 2 minutes I got up and said, "Nah bro, this ain't it. I'm done." He still keeps trying, but he had his chance. I used to turn my car off and coast into this girl's house at 1-2 a.m. We had all kinds of sex in the basement of her parents' house. The problem was the brother was a linebacker senior in high school, father avid hunter and gun enthusiast. One wrong move could have meant the end of all Leroy Brown here. When I was a kid, my dad would frequently take me to his job and give me meaningless tasks to help him out. He was a property manager for a secure gov building, federal guards at the doors, etc. Anyways, he had his office in the basement and was left alone down there by everyone else in the building. He would smoke cigarettes down there, blast music, etc. When I was 13, I went with him to work one day and he gave me the job of using an electric sander to take grime off of copper pipes in one of the machine rooms. I was left alone to my task for hours, and about an hour in I realized how incredibly powerful the vibration was on the sander. One thing led to another and I ended up grinding the handle of the sander on my dick. After I finished, I remember even at 13 saying to myself, "You're really weird, dude." Never told anyone, till now. Got on Reddit looking for people to sext. Fucked my cousin. Wish I could say it was one honest mistake, but I'm pretty sure I made that mistake another 20-30 times over a 2-month period. Oh well, roll tide. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and leave a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe to get more content like this.